Hey guys, so I have a project today that we have been kind of putting off for a little while. It's finally happening today. So I'm gonna finally be planting these holly bushes. So if you've been following my videos, then I'm sure you're familiar with this. But they're called Castle Spire holly bushes. They're from Proven Winners. And we also have one castle wall. There's a couple things that I wanna explain with it, but we're basically going to be creating a hedge out of them, and it's gonna be a nice evergreen hedge. So these are what the plants look like right now. They're a pretty good size, but they're gonna grow quite a bit. I think they're kind of like a medium-ish growth. Like they don't grow super fast every year, but they do grow enough. So you can see this is Castle Spire. This is the female version. You can see that they're a blue holly, so they are evergreen, meaning they're gonna keep all their leaves in the wintertime. And just to give you some stats on the plants, they're hardy in zones 5 through 7, so not a super wide range, but we're zone 6, so they're kind of perfect for us. They're going to get 8 to 10 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide, so pretty narrow. You can kind of see in that picture too that they are kind of more like a conical shape. Spacing says 4 to 5 feet, so we're going to do, I think, around 4.5 feet. And then obviously, you know, they're going to get their regular berries on them. And then the castle wall is just going to be the one that's going to fertilize all of these. So something that I found out on Proven Winners' website, but I didn't realize this before we bought the plants, is that the castle wall has to be within about 50 feet or so of the castle spire. So they don't have to be right next to them, but just in a short distance away in order for them to be properly fertilized. And one castle wall can fertilize about 5 castle spires. So I realized that we have 7 castle spires. So I think the one will be okay for now, but we're gonna eventually pick up another one, and then we'll have 2 in the yard, so that way they'll get good fertilization. It's better off to just have extra than not enough. But the plants, even though we only have one of the castle walls for now, the plants are still going to be fine. We just may not see as many berries. There won't be as good of fertilization. But I think either later on this season or probably next year we'll end up getting some. Where we're going to be planting the castle wall is not going to be its permanent place, but just to get it in the ground for now and just to have it close to the castle spire, we're going to have them we're just going to have it in a temporary spot. In our front yard, we have a lot of, like, you can kind of see this over here. We have a lot of, like, old bushes that really aren't looking super great. There's a lot of yews in the front. And we just haven't focused on that part of the yard yet. I believe next year we're really going to, like, try to get rid of those bushes and put in some new stuff. So I think we're going to end up putting the castle wall in the front of the yard somewhere. But there's other stuff in the way now where we can't plant it. So that's why I'm not really too concerned about getting a second one right now, and they're going to be fine. But I just kind of wanted to explain that at first. So if you happen to be getting, if you wanted to do something similar to us where you're creating like a whole hedge of them, or also if you wanted to just get like a few of them or whatever, just make sure that for every 5 castle spires, there's at least 1 castle wall. Another thing I would like to add about these plants is that they really don't want to be pruned on that much, and the more that you prune them, the less they're going to have a chance of having berries. The best time to prune them is going to be in early spring, like late winter, early spring, like a lot of stuff. The best thing like that I would want to do would be, you could see that there's like a bunch of shoots coming up. I would just kind of keep them in more of a conical shape, but they're going to naturally just grow to be a good 8 to 10 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide. And you can see even right now, they have a pretty like tall, narrow shape to them. As I'm walking over there, I just wanted to add that now is not the best time of year to be planting. It's the beginning of July right now. However, you can kind of see that it's pretty overcast today. It's actually raining just a little bit, and the high's only like 61 degrees, which is kind of crazy for this time of year. So it's a perfect day to plant, and the next few days aren't going to be super crazy. Even the next 10 day, it's like high 70s, low 80s, not anything super hot and like anything too shocking for the plants. But the best time to be planting anything is really the spring or fall. So that's just kind of like a disclaimer. But this is the time that we have to plant them, so this is when we're going to do it. All right, and so right here, this is on the left side of our property. So you can see the house is over here. I was standing in the driveway over there where the bushes are. So if I just make my way over this way, we created this bed this spring. All we did was we rototilled all the grass in, and then we put some loam in and also mulch. That's why it's up a little bit higher than everything else. Unfortunately, a lot of weeds have unfortunately taken over. You can see there's a lot in the grass too. I think next spring we're gonna try to take care of that as best as we can. But we still have the mulch bed, and the weeds aren't going to affect the plants too much. It's pretty narrow right now, but this is pretty much like on our property line. So it's just kind of creating, like instead of having a fence or anything, it's just going to be creating a border. So, and we also have, and I'll walk over there, back over here in the backyard, we do have these green giant evergreens. And we just wanted to like continue the border, but we didn't want the same exact plant. So you can see like we have this black fence here, and we have all these green giant evergreens. Same thing on the other side over there. So we wanted to continue that border on this side of the fence going this way, and maybe not start right here, but start somewhere over this way, and then just put something else. And I really like the look of hollies, so I think they're gonna do well in this area. Okay, enough of me talking, let's get to planting. All right, so we planted all of the hollies and they look really good now that they're in place. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we decided to plant the shortest one on this side and the largest one on the back side, just because that doesn't get as much sun, so it'll probably grow a little bit slower. So hopefully they'll even out over time. And we just spaced them from one center of the plant to another about 45 inches, because they're supposed to get 3 to 4 feet tall. So that will make sure that they pretty much just grow into each other a little bit, but there's still enough space. So they'll create a nice hedge. Now, what I also will say is, because we had to plant that male plant in a temporary location, it's actually right here. So I figured we'll try to plant it as close as we possibly can. It's just in front of this bush, and I don't even remember what the name of this is. But it's just gonna be here for this year, and then I think what we're gonna do is probably next year, we'll take out all these bushes. And my dad and I were talking about it. I think what we're gonna end up doing is we'll get one more, and since we have our front door right here, we're going to place one on either side, and those will get to be a good size. So, and we did measure, and around here is about 50 feet, so they should be pretty close. And if we're ever having any issues with pollination or anything, we also might eventually put some on the corner over here too, kind of near where this one is. But we might end up, because we're gonna get rid of this bush and plant something else, so maybe we'll flank whatever plant we put here with like 2 more bushes, and then that will give plenty of pollination for all of these hollies. The next thing that we're going to work on is we planted a couple of these Denim and Lace Russian sage plants. A couple of them are not looking as hot as the other one, but they'll be fine. They'll definitely come back the same next year. But I think we planted them a little too high, so we're just gonna put them a little bit lower in the ground. And there was one other plant I think that we had to transplant. So you can see that this Denim and Lace, I think it's just a little too high off the ground, so we're gonna place it a little bit lower. And I think it was about this high in its can anyway, so I don't think we're necessarily burying it. But you can see that this one looks a little bit better than the other two, so we're just gonna move those 2 down a little bit. And then the last couple of things we're gonna do is I wanna clean up this lupin because it's already gone to seed, and the seed pods don't look the absolute best, so I just wanna cut that all back. And then we have this Uuranus right here, which we have a lot of stuff growing over here, and I know that's gonna end up getting too big, so we're gonna move that next to the shed. All right, so at the shed over here, we just created these planter beds this spring. I have some of my tropicals in this area for right now, but obviously that's not gonna be permanent. We're gonna put some other stuff in that area. However, over here, we were thinking about placing the Uuranus kind of on the left side over here, because it's not going to get too big. We can always trim it if it gets up to the window, but this door has to swing out, and you can see that holder there. So the door comes out kind of around to where that holder is. So we're going to have some space here, and then underneath here, we're just going to have to plant probably some type of like small ground cover, like something that doesn't get more than maybe a foot high, just because the door will end up taking it out if it's anything taller. So just something that can kind of graze the top of that. right, so we have the two Denim and Lace Russian Sage plants that are a little bit lower now. You can see that you can't really see the base of the plant too much. I don't think they're buried too deep either, but they're definitely a lot better than they were. So we have that, and the one in the front was totally fine from the beginning. But I think next year they'll be a lot more uniform. I also deadheaded this Shasta Daisy. There's still a few more flowers that probably have a couple more days, but like these two are brand new. I thought I saw one, yeah, like there's another bud right there. So hopefully cutting those back will encourage it to bloom a little bit more. I'm not sure it's gonna have too many more blooms this season, but it already looks better than it did. And then over here, I didn't even plan to do this today, but we limbed up this birch tree because I know I did it this spring, but it definitely needed it again. So I just got rid of some more. And the biggest reason why is because underneath here, we have some gorgeous black-eyed Susans. You can see they're budding up right now. So they're gonna look really, really nice. But you see how those look a little bit lower than the ones on the left? Those were like completely shaded, and these want a lot of sun. I think as this birch tree grows, these are just gonna have to, we're gonna have to transplant them and put them in a sunnier spot, probably in that back area actually. But at least for this year, I just wanted to get that tree out of the way. And now we can start to see the trunk again. This tree will look a little bit different too because it's been kind of rainy today, and all the branches are just heavier in general, but it still kind of needed like a pick-me-up. I think we still need to pull the side of it towards the fence a little bit because I think it is still leaning, but it's in a lot better shape than it was before. The lupin is all deadheaded. There's a couple blooms left on it that I decided to leave, but that's kind of, you know, past its prime at this point. It also was kind of falling apart, so we decided we have raspberries in this container, and then we have this blueberry bush. So now that the Uuranus is gone, the raspberry is kind of just covering it up, so it makes it look a little bit nicer. And then I also have the blueberries here, and you can see it's just full of blueberries. It's never looked like this actually because it's always been in a bad spot, but being in this container, it's been happy. So we have that taken care of. I also did this the other day, and I didn't record it, but I planted this, it's called an Autumn Joy sedum. I think that's what it's called. So it'll have like the nice red colors to it. And the last thing that we did was plant this Uuranus bush. And then we also kind of recut this so that way it looks a little bit nicer. So it'll fill in this area and it'll grow back a little bit more too. So maybe we'll find some sort of ground cover, or if not, maybe some sort of annual can go there too. But at least for this year, we have this here. Now, I will say that it was really hard, I'm sure you saw, to get the roots out of this. And I don't know how many roots we really got that it needs, but I threw a whole bunch of biotone in there, so that should help it carry over. And we're just gonna, you know, thoroughly water it every day, make sure that it's never drying out, and I think it'll be okay. Worst thing, if it dies, we can always, you know, get a new one or whatever, but I think that'll be okay. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. The main thing was just getting those hollies in the ground because we had those for so long. But I'm really excited that now they're in the ground. They look really great. They could start growing, rooting in, all that good stuff. But I figured I'd kind of just take you guys around with the rest of the stuff we're doing today. We kind of took advantage of today because, for one, my dad and I were not working. I mean, I still have to work today, but we had the morning off anyways. And July can be tough for doing garden work because it gets really, really hot. And around here, it gets really humid. So like, for example, it was 99 degrees the other day and it felt like 109. So it was a little crazy. But today it's like 61, like it feels like fall today. Overcast, a little bit of a mist, not too much rain. Like I'm not really wet right now being outside. So it's, you know, I'm okay. But yeah, just wanted to take care of all this stuff. So besides that, I hope you guys like this video and I'll see you in the next one.